Hello and welcome to the Keto Mans Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Keto Mans Club podcast. We're so excited. We've got some really great content for you today. This is going to be one of those episodes that I think is going to be very enlightening for a lot of people, a window into the world of one of our hosts. Alberto is going to kind of spill his guts, give us his life story, tell us all of his secrets, all that. And it's going to be really great to hear how he has taken control of his life, using keto, using other just methodologies to try to gain health and freedom from a life of potential always being on meds. So we're going to dig deeper into that as we go. As always, this week we have Jim hanging out and Alberto. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
What's going on?
So that's the question: is what's going on this week? What any happenings this week in the keto world for you guys, or anything like that?
I'm going to throw out real quick. So the Keto Mans Club, for our listeners who've been following us through this journey, started out as a Facebook group, and we're crossing into we're 2,300, 2,400 members of the group right now. And each time we hit 100 member add-on, a new marker, we change up the header image of the group on Facebook to reflect some of the accomplishments and size changes and things of the members. And so that's been happening like every few weeks or so as we add that next 100 members. But we've, in the last 10 days or so, we had a big spurt of guys come on board, and consequently we're getting ready to update that again. And seeing these updated photos from our members has been pretty remarkable. The changes physically, emotionally, all of that for the guys who are following the ketogenic way of eating. It's just been pretty amazing. I don't know if it's the spring weather that's bringing it all out. The hashtag free the keto nipple is just raring to go nonstop. So I've been thrilled to see the successes of our members and participants in the last few weeks, especially.
Yeah, it's been really great. I added another person just today. In fact, he posted on his personal feed. I've been friends with him on Facebook for a while. And I'm like, dude, why have I not gotten Ron on here? So we got Ron on here. He's going to be one of those guys that I'm going to I'm not going to have to work hard to get him on the podcast, because he's one of those guys that he'll jump on and do pretty much anything to spread the good word. But he's going to be one of those that I'm going to drag in, do anything possible
Wonderful.
To get him on. Yeah, he's a really great guy, and we've got a lot of those that have joined recently, and so that's really exciting to see the growth. It's really exciting to see that even with the growth, the environment inside of our group continues to be camaraderie, men supporting other men, and just in general everything that we've hoped that this would be for us. So
absolutely,
that's been really great. Alberto, how about your world? Anything new?
Keto world is a keto world, man. I live it, so it's after a while it's just regular life, man. It's just another day. I am familiar with Ron. He is not a stranger to the podcast world. He's a fascinating character. So it'll be interesting to watch him interact. And it's like one of those things where he's just the kind of guy where like I feel like the Mans Club may have just gained a whole lot of class just by the presence of one person. So he's like his presence there is like, okay, now I got to watch my language. There's like a real gentleman in the house now.
Yeah, he is. He's a Bible believing, unabashed Christian, but he's just really down to earth. The interactions that I've had with him have been really awesome, and so absolutely I agree. In my world, I got a keto, Keyto, breath ketone meter. about a week ago, and I put it through its paces in the last week, and it does actually do a pretty good job. And so I'll probably talk more about it in the future. But I intentionally kicked myself out of ketosis because the readings were so high that I'm like, okay, this thing's broken. So I spent,
Really?
I got it on Indiegogo whenever it was still just getting started, and whatnot. So the readings were just so high. I'm like, okay, I'm really, really skeptical. So I intentionally had a couple carb up days, and made sure that I kicked myself thoroughly out of ketosis. And guess it tracked that with about 24 hours lag, actually, which was interesting. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it, but the acetone, it picks up on the acetone in your breath is what it's doing. And I'm curious as to how long it takes your body to create acetone as a result of a ketone thing. Like if 24 hours of delay is normal with that or what. But yeah, within about 24 hours, I was starting to see a drop, and it dropped all the way down, and I'm starting to get right back up. I scored a 6 out of 10 earlier, and maybe even a 7 actually. And the nice thing is it's not a blood test that I have to prick my finger for with expensive strips and things like that. I can use it as many times as I want to, and it takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to charge up, and it's good to go. So that's been a cool little new tool that I brought into my arsenal, because I'm one of those guys that likes data. So for me, more tracking, the better. I just don't keep up with it very well. So that's why I use applications and toys to keep track of them for me.
Okay.
So
I
yeah.
am curious. I'm going to ask one thing, John, because I know we're going to talk about it, on another show. But is it for an individual, or can it be used by multiple people? And the reason that this is coming to my mind is I had to. My cardiologist recently suggested I get a blood pressure monitor, and you can set it for more than one person, kind of thing, so it will track. And I was curious if yours is one individual or more than one.
It comes with 4 different like mouthpieces to blow into, and it the first thing that it does is as you're going through the process is it tells you to on your phone. So like if my wife wanted to use it, you could she would queue up the app, hit the connect to, she'd hit the power on button on the keto, and it would pair up with her phone and do the thing. And then next time that I want to use it, I put my mouthpiece on and use it and do the same thing with my phone. And so multiple people can use it. It's not dialed in for just one person.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, today we are diving into the life of Alberto and trying to dig into his story as best as we can. So we've already kind of gotten some of the basics. You don't have to go too in-depth into them if you don't want to. But Alberto, kind of do a quick summary as a recap, if nothing else, on who you are, where you got your start, and all of that.
Right on, we can do that. My actual name, start with my real name. My real name is Alberto, Alberto Casillas Jr. Obviously, father is senior. Parents are still around. Grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago my whole life. After I started working, spent a year in Minnesota, 2 years in Detroit, and now the last few years and probably forever here in Austin, Texas. Things are going good down here. Pretty much chasing the almighty dollar everywhere I've moved. Parents are still around. Parents are still together. They were first generation. Should say they moved here, so I'm first generation. Me and my 2 sisters are first generation, and what I would call a normal childhood because I didn't know any different. But looking back, there weren't very many Hispanics around, so compared to other kids in the neighborhood, it probably wasn't a normal childhood. But I didn't know any better, so it was nothing stuck out, nothing out of the ordinary, and yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to go by there. I mean, interesting childhood, small town, suburbia. I guess it would be almost, your picture perfect little neighborhood until graduated high school and decided needed to find like a real job and tried schooling. Schooling was not my gig. Kind of stumbled into painting cars. My dad's in the industry. My uncles are all in the industry, mechanics, and dad's worked on cars ever since he came up here. So kind of stumbled into painting cars, and I went to a vocational school. Hated every minute of it. Every minute, hated it. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it. And then they put a paint gun in my hand, and it was like the light at the end of the tunnel just got bright, really, really, really fast. And it was like one of those things where you just have that moment where you're like, you're holding this thing in your hand, and you're like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. And from that point on, believe it or not, weightlifting and cooking are not my passions. What I am truly passionate about is painting cars. I love painting cars. I love the industry. I love everything I've been able to accomplish within the industry. Like I truly enjoy my job, which I'm finding as I get older is it's pretty rare actually. But no, I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I look forward to going to work every day. It's challenging. It's never the same day twice, and then I get off on that, and it's great.
So I know we're going to talk about all the keto and everything, but you obviously love this car painting world that you are in. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. I mean, are you doing, if somebody has a wreck and you're matching it up to look brand spanking new, just like the rest? Are you doing custom design, custom artwork, all the above? What all do you do?
Yeah, and if I get too far down this rabbit hole, I mean, we're talking car paint here. You guys are asking for it.
I'm going to give you 90 seconds on my clock.
Okay, so basically, my specialty is it's collision insurance work. So basically, you crash a car, you take it to a body shop, you call your insurance company. That body shop takes it in, fixes the car,
Right.
repairs it. Obviously, along the process, it's got to get painted. That's where I come in. My whole career has been pretty much based around what we would call collision refinishing. That's where most of my spraying has been done. I still do a little bit of custom work on the side. I still teach custom work on the side. I do a lot of the clear coating work for a lot of the local artists around here as part of like a little side gig. But the bulk of it is I spend most of my time in body shops, either troubleshooting, matching hard colors, teaching new techniques, or just trying to get painters to be a little more efficient, because in this industry, it's all about commission. You know, if you're not working, you're not getting paid. So in these blue collar industries, you don't make money, you earn it. So I help these guys out, and if I find a new technique, I spread the word. I'll get in the booth and spray. If these guys go on vacation, or if they're off to a training school or whatever, I have no problem stepping in the booth and keeping the skills sharp, because it's a constantly evolving industry. And I mean, just take a drive around, look around. You're seeing colors on cars now that you don't remember seeing when you were growing up. You know, you're seeing these reds
Right.
that look like they glow in the daytime, and that's not easy to pull off in my world, man.
So you've had this life and everything, but we've all connected through this keto group. So how did that come into play for you?
Oh, it's funny because it's all interconnected. So, all right, let me take one little step back about when we're talking about keto. And one thing that I think that is very underrated when it comes to keto is once you're in, and this would go for any diet, but when you got to start really looking into the diet that looks into yourself, you learn a lot about yourself. And I'm sure you could ask anyone who's been on keto for a while, you could pick a diet. When you're committed to making yourself healthier and you're going to have to cook your own food, the self-awareness that comes with that is phenomenal. You learn things about yourself that you would have never learned otherwise. And that's like a universal truth. And so basically what happens, I came down here for work another day at the office, went to go to a shop, new painter started, bumped into a new painter, kind of going through the paces, it's usual. Hey, we'll paint this car, go to that car, go to lunch, we'll talk paint. Painter's like, whoa. And it was Brett Roberts. So you know who it is, Chris.
Yeah.
So he's like, whoa. He's like, we can go to lunch. It's all cool. He's like, but he's like, we can't go just anywhere. He's like, I'm kind of on this weird diet. That's exactly how he put it. And I'm like, all right, well, you pick the place, man. Whatever. And I'm like, what kind of diet are you doing? And he's like, I'm on a keto diet. He's like, my wife's on the keto diet. And, Brett's not one to hold any information back. I mean, given the fact that I barely met the guy. So he just kind of started spilling his guts about it. And I'm like, you know what? Stop right there. This is great lunch talk. Pick a spot. Let's go. So, we end up over the course of the next hour, like me and this dude pretty much became like best friends. Like we let it all out. We're just talking. He's going back and forth about keto. His wife, who's a phenomenal woman, lost a ton of weight, improved her health, reversed her diabetes, doing all kinds of stuff on keto. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around like this whole fat is fuel thing, and like how can this be healthy for me? And the whole time, I'm the health issues that I have are kind of bouncing around in my head, and I'm like, yeah, this is all good and all, but there ain't no way this is gonna work for me. Like I got stomach issues, like it ain't gonna fly. But I was like, no, we chatted, we talked, it was good. had barbecue for lunch, which turns out is one of my favorite foods. And yeah, so I'm like, hey, I'll look into it. And he's like, hey, you got any questions? Shoot me a text. I'll help you out. He's like, but no, he's like, it helps everything. It's good for everything. The usual talk about how humans were supposed to eat, and the refined sugars, the carbohydrates, and it kind of stuck with me. So I'm like, all right, well, yeah. So I go home, hop on the old Google machines, and I got no further into Googling than the ketogenic diet may help with gastrointestinal, and I stopped reading. And I'm like, I'm in, 100%. I'm in. Like that. It's worth 8 weeks of my time because it was only going to be an 8-week trial. It was worth 8 weeks of my time to give it a shot just so I could scratch it off the list, move on with my life, and like, yeah, I tried that, it didn't work. Carrying on.
So let's stop there for a second and talk about some of the health issues that you had up to that point. Kind of give us a quick rundown of what it was that you were dealing with and kind of some of the treatments that you were having to go through at that time.
Oh, yeah. So basically, I have ulcerative colitis. It's a disease. It's an incurable disease as of now. I use the word incurable, with quotation marks because it's incurable. But the way I look at it is if it causes me zero suffering, then I may as well be cured, even though it can rear its ugly head at any given time. And if you're not familiar with ulcerative colitis or any gastrointestinal diseases, they are hands down probably one of the, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. It is the most miserable experience I've ever gone through. I lived with it for about half of my life.
Is it something is that a genetic condition? Is it something that just comes about for whatever reason? I mean, how does somebody
it's autoimmune? It's autoimmune.
Okay.
It's not. I'm the only lucky one in my family. My dad and my older sister got like concrete stomachs. They can eat and drink anything at any given time, and they're perfectly fine. And
Okay.
so it's an autoimmune disease. It's almost awkward to talk about because I've never really talked about it before, like openly like this. But I mean, it's just imagine going through your day, then you got the urge to use the bathroom, and you've got maybe 35 seconds to find a toilet before you just literally blow your ass out all over the inside of your pants. And this can strike at any given time, anywhere. Whether you have food in your stomach or not, it doesn't seem to matter. You could have. I remember just getting partially stressed out about somebody asking me a question at work. And within 45 seconds, I was literally running to the bathroom because just the stress of that situation triggered it, and I had no choice. It's completely uncontrollable, and you just got to go, and you better get to the bathroom because there's just no stopping it. It's insane.
So yeah, the autoimmune disease is very often in the medical world. They basically just get, oh, sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it. Here's some meds to help. How many, or like, I know for a fact you've said it before that that's kind of the type of prognosis that you were provided, but kind of give us a little bit more detail about what your treatment path was once everything got diagnosed.
Well, like this all started when I was fresh out of high school. So, I was 18, and at that age, to find out that part of you does not work the way it's supposed to is one of the most devastating things that you could ever experience. I was 18 years old. I remember coming home from the first time I went to the doctor, and I just hopped in the shower. So nobody would be able to see me crying because I didn't know what was going on. An 18-year doctor didn't explain anything to me. Looking back, he wasn't the greatest doctor. He didn't really say much. He's like, "Oh yeah, here's a bunch of medicine. Go home." And that was about it. Like, I was scared to death. I didn't know what was going to happen. So over the course of the years, colonoscopies become part of life, once to twice a year, and in your early 20s, mid 20s, it's not exactly how you want to spend your time. And I was young. I was a little bit, I don't want to say ignorant, but I wanted to live my life. So I didn't follow the rules. I didn't listen to the doctors. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go drinking. I'll suffer the consequences. And I did. But, for, a good few years, I lived the life I wanted to live and just dealt with the consequences the next day and kind of lived like that day after day for a long time until my health just tanked like bad. I mean, there was a particular year where I was walking around with a green hue to my skin and just convincing myself everything was fine, still going to work every day, still going to martial arts afterwards. Because in my head, if I could still make it 40 hours a week and I could still make it to martial arts class, I can't be that sick, because a sick person can't do these things. And I would will myself through day in and day out, just will myself through these things just out of pure stubbornness to get me through every day. And I just convinced myself I was fine. And, in hindsight, I was most definitely not fine. but I convinced myself I was. And so, I mean, I honestly couldn't even begin to tell you the amount of medications I was on. Just pills after pills after pills on top of more pills, 2, 3 times a day, 6, 8 pills a day. Nothing really changed because I wasn't really willing to adjust my lifestyle. But on the other side of that, there was never to this day was there a doctor who talked to me about lifestyle. It was always like, okay, here's the next prescription, and here's the next prescription. And I think we're all at the age and keto long enough to know that doctors really don't address lifestyle and diet. They just throw a dart at a dartboard, and whatever medication that dart hits is pretty much the next thing they're gonna prescribe you, and we'll see you in 6 months for your next 5 minute round, and we'll kind of go from there.
So through all of this, what was your weight like? I mean, were you dropping weight? Were you, because obviously this way of eating is to, lose inches and such, but were you needing to lose weight with this gastro illness?
At the when I was really not taking care of myself, I was literally emaciated. I was super skinny, but like I said, I had a green hue to my skin. Like I was not in any way, shape, or form healthy. I did not look healthy. I did not feel healthy. I just pretended I was for like a really long
Right.
time. And then I've always worked out, so that's to me like there's no never exercising in my head or in my life. I've always done it. That's my standard. So it's like as long as I've always done it, it can't be that bad. I'm still working out. I'm not laid up in bed. Sick people are laid up in bed. I'm not laid up in bed. I'm getting up. I'm going to work 45 hours a week. Never mind that I had to like literally use the bathroom probably 8 to 12 times a day while I was at work, and then make sure I really used the bathroom before martial arts started. And then, as soon as that was over, run straight to the bathroom and take care of business again. And hopefully I'd make it home to use the bathroom
Wow.
again. But to me, it was like, hey, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm fine. And I
Right.
said, looking back, I'm sure
Right.
you guys, even me hearing me say it right now, it's insane thinking that someone could go through their day by day thinking that's normal and okay, and just kind of just accepting it. And like I kept everything to myself, so it's not like people weren't trying to help me. I told no one nothing, and I kept it that way because I was young, and there can't be anything wrong with me. I'm in my mid 20s,
Right.
and so it was
Mm.
probably late 20s, close to early 30s when I just started kind of paying a little more attention to health. I mean, I still drank a lot, but the partying days were over, the bar nights, the club nights, all that were behind me. Still was drinking a lot of beer, beer snob, and I just paid a little more attention to my health. Started paying a little more attention to my doctors. Cleaned up my diet to what we all know now is a standard American diet, and so it was what I considered eating clean. A ton of chicken, ton of rice. Still go out and get a big giant burger or chicken sandwiches, but I'm like, hey, I work out, I'm fine. In the meantime, medication starts working because I'm slowly and on my own turning my life around, turning my health around. So the medication starts working. I'm going to the doctors more often. Their blood work's going down. They're like, oh, hey, how do you feel? I'm like, man, for once I legitimately feel good. But here I am, 5 pounds heavier, 5 pounds heavier. Oh no, you're fine, you're fine. You're getting older. It's normal. And I just had a Facebook post recently where kind of dawns on me. Like I was at a point for a while there when I was in full remission, full medical remission, fully medicated, 100% healthy by every medical standard, applauded by my doctors because hey, you're playing by the rules, you're taking the medication, you're doing great. Oh, that weight, you don't worry about that weight. You're getting old. You can't be young and skinny forever. And in the back of my head, I'm like, at the time, like I'm in the gym 12 hours a week, which is ludicrous. Like, and I don't have, I'm like, yeah, I'm strong ish, but what does it take to make it look like I've been working out 12 hours a week? Like, you go through the magazines like everyone does, and you see all these, giant ripped dudes. And I'm like, okay, if I'm eating all the right things and I'm technically healthy and I'm spending 12 hours a week in the gym, like, how much time is this guy spending in the gym to look like that? And so, what do? You push harder and you eat more. And basically what was happening is the medications were masking my symptoms. And yes, I was technically healthy, but the underlying issue was never quite resolved. It was still there. It's just getting pushed. It was dormant.
So, had you, during that phase, whenever you were going, okay, how can I look like I work out? Did you try other diets, weight loss plans, other things like that? You kind of started talking about keto with the mindset of, okay, I'll give it 8 weeks. I can do 8 weeks and see what it does. Had you done that with other things, and if so, what was your results?
I mean, yes and no. because it was basically, as we like to call bro science in the gym, meathead science, where as long as you lift heavy and eat relatively clean, then, go eat your pizza because you're going to bulk up, eat that whole pizza and, stuff like that. So, I mean, I bought all the books and I followed all the recipes in the books, and I'd cook the lean chicken and eat the salads, 6 days a week. And then, like, oh yeah, I got to get strong. I got to get big. So then, you take your one day and you eat all the donuts and hamburgers, and it never really affected my symptoms, but I wasn't really making any strides. Like looking back, I was on this multiple year plateau in the gym where just going through the motions. The bench press never went up, the leg press never went up. They were getting easier, but the gains weren't there, the intensity wasn't there, and so like to answer the question, if I ever like did I ever like stick to paleo for a little while, or did I ever stick to Mediterranean diet for a little while? No, because I didn't know those were things. I just ate what the guys in the magazines were eating, and drank the protein shakes they were drinking, bought the pre-workouts they were buying. Every supplement that I read about, like, well, this guy's taking it's working for him. Look at that guy. Oh, he gets up at 5 a.m. and jogs around the block. I'm going to jog around the block twice, and then I'm going to do the push-ups, and then I'm going to go to the gym. And it was chasing this dream that you're never going to catch. And it was all a personal challenge, and I don't want to say it was a waste of time, because I enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, when you just you look back and you're still pushing 30% body fat and overweight. Any way you look at it, you're overweight, and you run up a flight of stairs and you're still getting winded, and tying your shoes still hurts a little bit. Like, okay, time to kind of take a step and reevaluate a few things. So yeah, circling it back around, I paint cars. Cars brought me to Texas. Texas brought me to the collision center. The collision center brought me to Mr. Brett. Brett took me to lunch. Brett introduced me to keto. Decided to stick with it for 8 weeks, and then wrapping it all back around to that self-awareness thing, and maybe like you found your place in this world. Like the amount of things that had to go right for me to end up where I'm at right now is like I almost feel like I was meant to be here, because I could have ended up anywhere. I've lived in 4 different states, and I'm a journeyman technician. I'm a master painter. I could get a job anywhere in the country. Just, I have all the tools and the skills required. I could have ended up anywhere, but with the chances of me ending up here, meeting the people I met, talking to people I talked to, ending up bumping into a painter that, that turned me on to keto, and then everything else kind of just literally falling into place. Bumping into one of my idols, who's one of the world-class airbrush artists who happens to live right up the street. It's like you got to kind of pause, and like there's something more to it than just dumb luck.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk to your buddy, you go to lunch, you learn about keto and everything. So what was the initial process for you, and what was it like to adapt to that way of eating?
A lot of questions at first. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't. You read about it, and then it's. I would think everyone goes through the first thing where you start kind of going through your pantry, reading labels, and you're like, well, nope, 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 nope. And then by the time you get to your pantry, there's like maybe an item or two left that you could possibly eat. So like I came to that realization. I pretty much threw my hands up in the air, and I'm like, this ain't good. Whatever. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't have to be today. So I'm like, let's just start one day at a time. Like, let me burn through this protein powder. I got it anyways. I paid for it. Once I burn through it, I won't buy anymore. We got all this brown rice and chicken. Let me cook all this brown rice and chicken. Let me burn through it. Once I burn through it, I won't buy anymore. And then that's kind of how I approached it. And it just seemed to work for me. So everything kind of tapered off slowly. And it wasn't perfect. It was a good 2 or 3 week process from when I decided that I was going to start. Probably even longer than that. To when I was actually, to when my menu was legitimately keto, it probably was closer to about somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks.
So how soon did you have that aha moment, that moment where you said, okay, something is working here. I'm not sure what it is, but something about this is working. What did that look like?
It was very interesting. I remember the day when I drew the line in the sand, and there were still a few items lingering around the cupboard, and it was actually Christmas Day. I woke up extraordinarily hungover. Drank a bunch of beers, partied the night before. I'm outside trying to cook a meal. My big old pile of, I don't even remember what it was, pork or something, was on the grill about ready to come off. I'm attached to this thing because this is the main course of dinner, and I got all these other carb related, your classic Christmas dinner ready. Dog escapes. I'm hungover. I can't leave this grill because I'm gonna burn the meat. And it was just like all these things are hitting me at once. And I was like, you know what? It changes now. It changes right now. I'm like, I can't. This is just another Saturday. I'm just hungover again. Like this has to change now. So literally on Christmas morning, I decided this is the moment. I ate the proteins I cooked because that was really the only thing on the menu that was even reasonably keto. But I didn't touch any of the other food I prepared because in my head the switch was flipped. That was that, and something had to change. So that there was still a couple of days of trial and error. Accidentally eating the wrong things. You're changing lifelong habits. You actually find yourself grabbing a handful of pretzels and like, oh wait, yeah, I can't eat this. Spitting them out into the garbage can and grab a glass of water. Okay, on to the next. But I would say after I probably got about a good 2, 3, 4 days, I just noticed that I just didn't feel as bloated. Stomach felt better. I was using the bathroom less often, and like it was almost like it was so natural and so easy that like I wasn't even aware of how fast I was getting better because it was what I would call feeling normal. I didn't know what normal felt like. Yeah, it didn't take long. It took a few days, and I would say honestly, even before I started noticing any difference in my stomach, the joint pain decreased significantly. My knees stopped hurting, my lower back stopped hurting, my knuckles stopped hurting, my shoulders stopped hurting, and these are all chronic illnesses that you just correlate with getting older. I was on enough pills. The last thing I wanted was at the time was like be one of those guys that has to take an Advil every day just to get out of bed, and then take an Advil at lunch to make it through the day. And so I just kind of fought through the pain because I was done with pills at that point. I mean, I was still taking my prescribed medications, but I definitely was not trying to stack anything on top of that. And just slowly, day by day, things got better, and joints got better. And then before you know it, I'm 2 weeks in and hop on the scale, and I'm a few pounds down. And I start thinking about it. I'm like, man, my knees don't hurt anymore. Man, my back doesn't hurt anymore. I'm sleeping better. I'm down a few pounds. Wife said I stopped snoring. I'm like, okay, well, I stopped drinking, so I probably stopped snoring because of that. And every positive thing that happened to me, I correlated to, it's because I'm not drinking anymore. It's because I stopped doing it. And it wasn't because of I was literally changing everything about my life. It was because, I stopped drinking beer. That's why that happened. But yeah, I mean, it didn't take long to realize. I'm like, all right, I hop on the scale a few weeks later, and I'm down 10 pounds. And I was never that big of a dude. I mean, I got up to 200 pounds, which is big for me. I mean, not big in the grand scheme of things, but when I started seeing that scale just like really, really, really start coming down, and I noticed all the inflammation going down, and talking to Brett about what was going on, he's like, oh wait, it's gonna get better. Next is gonna be this. Next is gonna be this, and like clockwork, everything that we talked about would start happening. I'm like, all right, then before I knew it, my 8 weeks was up, and I think I was probably down somewhere between 10 and 15 pounds. And I'm like, all right, this is going to require a little more than 8 weeks of my attention because something's happening here, and it's working. And I've never felt this good in my entire life.
During that 8-week period, were you talking with your doctors who had prescribed the meds for the gastro illness and all these other things? I mean, was there ever any consideration or thinking of, man, I need to back off on this stuff, or just drop it all? Or did you just keep on keeping on as you were?
I didn't tell my doctors anything because I didn't think, first of all, I didn't think they would approve. Because because in my head at this point, I'm only 8-12 weeks in, and this whole high fat thing is just nonsense to me. I didn't even know there was Facebook groups at this time. To me, for all I knew, it was me in this little bubble, and I knew this one guy that did it, and that was it. I didn't know there was hundreds of thousands of people online that you could talk to that are doing the exact same thing, suffering the exact same thing that you're suffering from. So I definitely did not tell my doctors anything. I do recall going to the doctor the first time and just told him that I had pretty much just told him, yeah, I got to stop. I cook my own food now. I stopped eating sugar, and I cut out the processed foods, and I kind of just left it at that. And he's like, oh, hey, that's great. How you feeling? But at this point, I was still taking my medications, and I had actually dropped down to taking it every other day, and that went on for like a year. And at this point, I'm still only going to the doctors once every 6 months, and I was always in remission. So it's always like, okay, weigh yourself. Okay, how you feeling? How are your bowel movements? What are you eating? Anything? Any blood in your stool? Like, yeah, blood in your stool. Yeah, but let me tell you, I won't go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, you'd think you're dying in the toilet. And no, okay, you're fine. Okay, pat on the back. You're doing great. Carry on. All right, no problem. So, and I do recall it was just a random Friday. And this was about a year after me tapering off of my meds. I mean, by tapering, I mean just taking them every other day, occasionally forgetting. every third day, but still taking them religiously. Then I'd get, and it was funny because I remember I'd get the notification, Walgreens sends you the thing, your prescription is ready to be refilled. And I'm like, still got half a bottle, ain't doing that. The whole time I felt fine, but kind of is just like, okay, the medication's working. I'm cleaning up my diet. The medication's really working.
Right.
So I remember it was just one random Friday, which is approximately like a year and 3 days ago to the day. I went into the cupboard to grab my medication, and I'm just sitting there staring at it, and it dawns on me. I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, I haven't taken this stuff in a week. And she was just like, really? I'm like I've literally forgot to take my medication. Like, your daily ritual. You take your medication before you go to work. I'm like, I haven't taken it all week. And she's staring at me. I'm like, and I put it back in the cupboard. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna take it. I'm like, I know my body. I know what it feels like when I'm gonna get sick. I'm just gonna pay real close attention. And I was like, I might get 2 weeks out of this, and I'll get to brag about that. I was like, but I'm just gonna kind of let this thing ride out, And I set this little timer on my phone. I'm like, well, let's shoot for 2 weeks. Let's see what happens. And so sure enough, I put my medication back up there, and at that point, I was well dialed into keto. At this point, I was, I would have to say somewhere near 8 months in. So like, the keto wasn't even. You don't even think about it anymore. It's just the way you eat and the way you live. It's not even a thought. And I put the medication back up there and figured I'd let it ride for a couple weeks and like, yeah, we'll see how this goes. And yeah, it turns out I never had to touch him again.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the reason that we're doing this interview today is that you hit a huge milestone with that very thing this week. You hit 1 year, no meds, right?
367 days, 12 hours, and 26 minutes to the day, to be exact.
That's
and
just
I never
phenomenal.
thought that was going to happen. And look, and I'm in ulcerative colitis support groups, just because I'm like, you know what? I know what it's like to be that sick. I'm not that sick anymore. And to this day, people think not so much anymore, but there are the few that still think I'm crazy, that think I have a death wish. But, when I first signed on to that group, which who knows how long ago that was, and I just kind of threw my story out there, it was like, it was it was like hate mail, but via Facebook. Not even mail. It was just hate comments. Like I was like I was getting called every name in the book, and I'm crazy, and you're a liar, and there's no way you can't be food. It has nothing to do with diet. And like I've been talking about hundreds of comments, and out of those hundreds of comments, maybe 3 were positive. The rest of them were negative, and I purposely made a point to reply to every single one as polite as I possibly could, just to shut them up. And I post on there fairly regularly now as well, and now it's kind of taking this weird turn where there's people coming out of the woodwork who and they might be new to the group, I don't know, but the word keto, the word paleo, the word grain free, the word sugar free, those words are, and people just coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, I've been doing that for like 10 years, it's working great for me, and so it's like now it's like it's kind of turned the corner, and there's more support every time I post something now, as opposed to people telling me I'm a liar.
Yeah, that would be really crazy. So,
but I want to throw in real quick that a lot of people they're so skeptical about things that they would rather stick with the known, as painful as it is, rather than the unknown and how good it can be. And that's what I think we've seen in our group over the last couple of years as guys are going into this way of eating, they're not only getting the physical benefit or the, dropping inches, dropping pounds, whatever the case may be, but all of a sudden there's all of these extra things that come along with it. That, there was a guy who posted a couple weeks ago something about going to lunch with a buddy, and the guy's like, what are you doing eating, 3 big hamburger patties and cheese and asparagus, and meanwhile the guy's got the plate of nachos and everything. Is like, well, this is what I do, and this is why I've dropped 50 pounds or whatever it was, and the guy with the nachos is like, that's a bunch of BS kind of thing. But the proof is right there. I mean, we've just heard the story, so there's the legitimacy of all of this is something that people need to think about and take in and realize, hey, maybe there is something beyond the prescription that can help you.
And maybe it's just as simple as food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who
Straight,
knew?
yeah, straight food. Food as medicine is the thing that I've been hearing a lot from a lot of the experts, both doctors, nutritionists, dietitians that are in the keto space. More and more of them are talking about food as medicine. I really think that there's something to that, because before we had pharmaceutical grade medicine, what did we have? We had herbs, we had spices, we had things from the ground that were grown and prepared as medicinal things. And so, while I think that drugs that the pharmaceutical realm has made is a good thing, I'm thankful for them, because without them, we would have far more disease, far more things to deal with. At the same time, if so many of us would take our conditions that we're dealing with and rewind a bit and say, okay, is there a behavioral cause for this? Is there a root cause for this? I've talked about it before. I'm low testosterone. Well, some of that initially was that I was really overweight, but some of it was just I think that I was always a little low testosterone. There's not much of a fix for that, so I'm very thankful for testosterone replacement therapy. But for but there and that's something that, especially now that I'm on TRT, I'm probably going to be on it for the rest of my life. But beyond that, there are a lot of things that people can do to help address their conditions, just like Alberto has, to address the root cause and kickstart their system to heal itself. And that's amazing. So, Alberto, let's talk about stats a little bit. Let's talk about stats a little bit. And what was your highest weight? What have you kind of come down to? And because this has been kind of an interesting thing for you specifically, weight management / your attempt to build weight into, lean muscle mass weight, been like now that you have been keto now for close to 3 years and all of that?
Yeah, at my heaviest, I'm only 5'8". I guess that would be average height, but it's not. I'm not a very tall person. At 5'8" and at 200 pounds, I could squeeze into a size 34 pants. And while that might not sound like, okay, this guy wasn't that big, like I said before, bear in mind, I was spending the equivalent of a part-time job at the gym and fighting with every last ounce I had to not gain weight. And I was still constantly gaining weight, and it just wasn't stopping. And there was no stopping it. And like I was saying before, it's quote unquote normal. Before I stumbled onto keto, I believe last time I bothered to weigh myself, I was at about 195 pounds, probably closer to 200 pounds. And I mean, I wore it well. Like you wore a large T-shirt, and you couldn't really tell. But yeah, it was not comfortable. It was definitely too much weight for my frame. And then enter keto, and the weight starts coming off. Still continued weightlifting. That never stopped. And you hear about, okay, you're gonna get the keto flu, and I did mention my stubbornness in case you guys are unaware. I'm a little stubborn. They're like, oh, well, expect a dip in performance. You're gonna have this keto flu, and I'm like, dip in performance? Like, no. Like, I don't have dips in performance. My whole life has been a dip in performance. Like, I'm feeling better. Like, if this is gonna work, there is no dip in performance. So like, I literally remember just doubling down and hitting the gym harder than I've ever hit it before. So if there was a dip in performance, I didn't experience it because I fought it with everything I knew how.
Let me tell you, ladies, mainly gentlemen, but any ladies that are listening, the truth of the matter is that I work out with this guy now 3 to 4 times a week, and he really works hard. He pushes me to my limits every single time, and he is zeroed in, focused, and is super intense on whatever it is that we're working on. And so when he says he doubled down, you can bet that it was serious double downing. So let's follow up on that to say, what has working out become for you now? You were spending a lot of time in the gym before. Now are you having to spend less to get better results? What has that been?
Oh, far less. I mean, I would almost say half, like literally, because I mean, before it was like I would wake up at 3:30 in the morning to be at the gym by 4:30 to be done by 6:30 or 7. So I mean, I was, if I went to the gym, it was 2.5, 3 hour ordeal, 4 to 5 days a week. Where now it's all about the short and intense. If you could squeeze it in in less time and lift more weight, then that's quite literally the definition of intensity. And so another time it was, you read all the bodybuilding magazines and, yeah, I don't get paid to lift weights. These guys do. Like, all of us guys with regular jobs, like unless you truly enjoy it and have the time, by all means, rock out. But we have no business spending 15 hours a week in the gym. There was no paycheck in it for me. It was just for my own self gratification. But it just wasn't working, and I have no business spending that much time in the gym. But as the weight was coming off, I cut my time down. I got everything down to like what me and you are doing now, no more than an hour and a half. Like from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you walk out the door, I like it to be about an hour and a half, no more than that, 3 to 4 days a week. And another interesting thing about keto is, yeah, you might think what you want to weigh, you might think where you look ideal, but keto is going to find your happy spot once your metabolism is in a thriving space. Keto is going to find your happy spot, and you're going to have very little to say about it. Because when I was dropping weight, I got down to 180, and I was at that 14 to 16% body fat. Had definition, had bulk, had size. I just looked like a big dude, and I'm like, okay, we can stop now. I want to stop at 180. No big deal. And then like in my head, it's like, all right, I'm 195. What am I going to lose 5 pounds of fat? And then I'll be all muscle. I'll weigh 190 and be ripped. So then I get down to 180. I'm like, well, that went down a little more than I expected, but whatever. I won't lose any more weight. There's all this muscle under here. And it went down to 175. And I'm like, all right, what's going on here? All right, what happened to all this? I was buff. Where's all this muscle that I had, which in turn you just all fluffy and carved up and covered in a nice layer of fat. Hit 170 still, and mind you, the whole time my numbers in the gym are going up and up and up and up. Mm-hmm. So like it was kind of a grain of salt. Like, okay, it's okay if I'm lifting more, I'm getting stronger. If I'm getting stronger, my muscles are growing. So I have to be getting rid of fat, but I can't have much more fat. Like, look at 175, drop down to 170. And at that point, I'm like, what the. Like, I was supposed to stop at 180. So it turns out keto decided my happy spot when I was at my leanest and my skinniest at 166 pounds, which was roughly 30 pounds lighter than when I started, which still to this day blows my mind when I pick up a 25-pound plate and to think like there was a point in my life where I had no choice. This plate was strapped to me and I had to live life with this thing. And now, we go to the gym, we do those kneeling half moons, and 25 pounds is heavy. Yeah. 25 pounds is real heavy.
With all of the weight lifting that you have been doing, what about cardio? Do you do any of that at all, or is that it hasn't been part of the fitness plan?
I always want to. I just, man, I have a real short attention span. And I've looked up these programs and even like MAF training, which is supposed to be great for fat burning. And, I get on the treadmill and within 3 minutes, I'm like, okay, this just ain't happening. So yeah, no, I am on team zero cardio. My heart rate gets plenty high just lifting weights. I promise you, if you were to track my heart rate lifting weights, it is exceeding any cardio or any high intensity interval training you're doing. It's either right up there, if not exceeding it. So you lift weights with high enough of intensity, your cardio is built in. And I mean, if you enjoy cardio, by all means, do it. But if you're like me and you enjoy lifting weights more, just keep the intensity up, keep the rest period short, mm-hmm. and your cardio is built in.
Yeah, the most that I've seen him do since we started working out together is about 1,000 meters on a rower, just to kind of get the body loosened up, just to get everything lubricated. He doesn't even push it hard. Like I'm one of those. As soon as I start, I'm cranking it out, and I'll do 500 meters of hard rowing versus his like 1,000 meters of just easy going, and it's just a warm up for him, and mm-hmm. But he definitely hits it hard. I'll give you one of my heart rate tracker, and we'll track it one of these days, Alberto, and you can you can test that theory. I think it's probably accurate. Okay, so let's go ahead and start winding down a little bit because we are coming up to the hour mark here, and this has been a really great conversation. But I think that we are kind of getting to at least to the present with all of this. So at this point, if you look back at where you were before this all started 3 years ago and could tell yourself at 18 when you were first being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, or looking at yourself at your lowest point, what would you tell yourself from the standpoint of what you know now?
pay more attention to yourself. Like they say, listen to your body, and that gets thrown around left and right, up and down, sideways. But had I truly paid a little more attention, I could have saved myself a lot of problems, a lot of hiding of. No one knew I had problems. I could have solved myself a lot of hiding of problems, and a lot of internal suffering, and dark, very dark places. I mean, there's times where, I mean, you're like, if this is life, I pretty much don't want to be here. And then those thoughts, I mean, they don't cross your mind for long, but it's really not normal to have them on a regular basis either. And kind of wrapping it back around to the training, like, yeah, like even you said, yeah, I train. I'm injured, technically injured right now. So you think this is intense? This is me dialed back. But people got to understand too that, like, there was a great portion of my life where I wasn't in control of the suffering, and I wasn't in control of the pain. It controlled me. And like, now that things are turned and I'm healthy, like, I enjoy the hurt that I can put on myself. I'm in control of the amount of suffering of a heavy deadlift. I'm in control. Like I know it's coming. I know it's going to hurt, but I'm choosing for it to hurt and not the other way around. And that's where a lot of that drive comes from, because it's like, oh yeah, this is I'm going to lift this up and this is going to suck. But you know what? I'm choosing this suck. This suck isn't choosing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Choose what you can control. That's really that for the person that's lived constantly out of control, that definitely could be helpful. Okay, so that is the story of Alberto, and that's a really incredible story. And I hope that a lot of guys, and again, whatever gals tune into our little man show here, that they got something out of it, because I think there's a lot of value there. So, with that being said, let's move on to closing business. Do we have any? Well, we didn't talk about this earlier, but I want to just go ahead and call out the amazing transformations that are being exhibited in the group, and there's way more than I can actually list. So this week has just been one of those weeks. Jim, you kind of alluded to it earlier as well, that there's just a lot of the guys that are posting their before and after pics this week, and it's really crazy to see where a lot of us are coming from and where we currently are. And so to everyone who has posted and shared that piece of themselves, thank you for that. It's inspirational to everybody else. And we've seen some really amazing transformations. Any other call outs from you guys?
I'd say member Mike, who recently posted of a 300-pound loss. Like, take a minute to think. Like, at my heaviest, I was 195 to 200 pounds. I weigh 170 pounds now. This man has stuck with the program long enough to lose 300 pounds. Like, that's superhero status. Screw the deadlift, screw the weightlifting, screw the intensity in the gym. That is superhero stuff right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to have Mike on the show for sure. We've already started talking with him, trying to find the scheduling time to fit that in, because he's really got a great story that I hope that we'll be able to get him on soon. Our schedules didn't work out for us to do that this week. But yes, absolutely. 300 pounds lost is that's more than I weighed at my heaviest. At my heaviest, I was 280. So he's lost more than me in my entirety. So that's crazy to me. And it shows he's a great guy, great sense of humor. So that's going to make for a really great conversation. Jim, do you have anything?
I'm flipping through the group right now and looking at some things, and I think that as we are getting into the start of summer season, which is grilling out and Memorial Day parties, graduations, and things like that, I've seen a lot of guys putting things up about meal plans, breaking out the grill for steaks and pork, turkey, chicken, whatever the case may be, and being forward thinking of what they can have and do to maintain the keto way of eating if they are going to some kind of holiday celebration or graduation, whatever the case may be. So it's not. I feel like there's a little bit of a turn, so to speak, in the it's a cheat weekend kind of thing, so I can do this, to we're doing this and here's how I am going to be prepared for it. And kudos to all of the folks that are doing that and thinking ahead. It doesn't mean that you can't go to a family event and be social and enjoy the dinner and everything, but you may skip the potato salad and instead eat an extra helping of green beans with some bacon fat in there and a couple 3-12 hamburgers, whatever you need to do. So kudos to all of those guys for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Planning ahead is key on all of that. And that actually kind of ties into one of the questions. I posted something, what questions do you have? And so I'll call out one of the questions from Mike, another Mike from other than the one that we were mentioning before. And he was talking about how he's supposed to, in his macros, get up to 200 grams of fat. And he's like, how the heck do you do that? That's like 10 ribeyes. And so, or four 10-ounce ribeyes. And I'm the response that he got from somebody else, I think is fairly accurate. You guys can weigh in on this as well. My school of thought has always been limit the carbs completely down to 20 grams of carbs or less. Moderate protein. The usual formula for that is 1 to 1.5 grams per 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. That's my ratio, and usually that works out to what most people would say. And then for me, it's fat to satiety. So that point of, okay, I'm full, I'm good. So what are you guys? What is your response to this goal of 200 grams of fat per day? That just seems like a lot to me.
Alberto, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Well, I am not the person to answer this question. I mean, honestly, for me, it's in my head. I'm like, only 200 grams of fat a day. Like okay, I pretty much eat that without even trying. But again, I don't track food, so and for the second reason, I'm not the person to answer this question. But sure. I mean, I'm in a weird situation where legitimately calories and fat intake seem to have absolutely zero effect on my metabolism. Now, mind you, let's go back to. We're going to drag this thing out for another half hour. Watch. let's go back to what happens when you have for the first time ever, I have a thriving metabolism. My body's working the way it's supposed to work. And I've said this on the podcast before. Yes, everybody wants weight loss, but keto should not be about weight loss. Keto should be about thriving health and metabolism. And if you focus on thriving health and metabolism, you have no choice but to lose weight. And I've hit that spot. And when I decided I was going to strict keto bulk, clean, because sugars and grains I've learned are my body's enemy, and I'm not going back to that place. But strict keto bulk, I would spot track. I would eat as much as I can, and I'm talking 70% fat, so 35 to 4,000 calories a day at 70% fat. And whatever protein fell into would be, fat was anywhere from 250 to 350 grams a day. Protein was anywhere from 180 to 250 grams a day. Carbs, if you're sticking to keto, even keto carbs, when you're eating that much food, you're going to creep up 35, 40, 45 grams a day, assuming you're not working carnivore. And I was eating it. And the amount of significant weight I gained is zero.
Yeah.
So, but eat the foods, add the butter. Don't be afraid of the fat. I was, huge on the BPC, the bulletproof coffees at the time, but bulletproof coffee was not a meal replacement. It was a nice little enhancer. It was a bonus fat and calorie to my massive breakfast. But it's possible. You just track your foods, add the butter. Get your fatty cuts of meat in, get your nuts. Get all your healthy fats from your nuts. It's possible. It's going to take a while. Avocados are a great source. Get those in there. Bacon. If you can eat unlimited amounts of bacon, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of that's absolutely correct. And I do think it can get up there to that 200 gram mark easier than what we may think sometimes, by doing simple things like adding a couple tablespoons of avocado oil to whatever it is that you're cooking, or like you said, the bulletproof coffee as an addition to your breakfast. That's a really great way to add just a little bit more fat. And honestly, a butter latte, which is a bulletproof coffee, that's all it is, tastes really good to me, and so I like them, and so I drink them 3-4 times a week at least, and it's just a preference thing. So yeah, we you've got ways to do that. So Mike, there's your answer, at least from us, from our
we didn't
personal
let Jim answer
experience.
yet.
Oh, well, Jim kind of deferred, but Jim, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that you guys hit the nail on the head, and there's so many great websites out there, and we've got some links up on the Keto Mans Club Facebook page under the link section where you can go and get your macros and dial in. And again, it's going to be a trial and error process at the start. So if you're getting into this for the first time and trying to figure out, well, how many do I need, whatever, don't overthink it to the point where you're just like, screw it, I'm not going to participate in this. This is not for me. Watch the carbs, 20 or under, eat the fatty stuff, to get the protein in and things like that. Just start in there, ease into it. And as your body adapts and everything, and you find things that work for you in your menu, in your pantry, whatever the case may be, then you continue to tweak, fine tune it, and make it work for you.
Absolutely. That's the key for all of it, is find what works for you. There are so many different schools of thought because we're all bio-individual that it takes a little while to find out what works for each one of us. And what works for Alberto may not work for somebody else, and what works for me may not work for somebody else. And that's fine because we're all different. Let's see, any other business? No, that's pretty much it. Okay, so
what was on the menu of Chris today?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Let's see. I ate some. We get those packages of the charcuterie, the fatty pastrami and things like that. We get that at the store, and so I munched on that some today. I had a bag of the cheese crisps, cheese wisps. Ate those. I snacked a lot today, basically, and then my real meal at the end of the day. And this was one of those times where whenever I'm ordering it, the guy the young kid that took the order at Wendy's just scratched his head, didn't even know how to put it in the computer. I asked for four meat patties, 4 pieces of cheese, and 4 pieces of bacon, and they're like, "What?" And they just totally didn't. They like, how do we? And like 3 people had to help him put that order in the system, and then get this, they put it in 2 different boxes for me because they think, oh, obviously this has to be 2 different people, right? So that was my real meal of the day, and so yeah, the rest of it was all keto friendly snacks, but mainly snacking.
Jim, how about you? What was on the menu today?
Today was I'm trying to get more into this intermittent fasting thing. So I had a work event. I mentioned this earlier before we did the show this evening. And so the work event was one of those classic buffet heavy hors d'oeuvres. So the chicken fingers and the spinach artichoke dip and the cheese tray and the fruit tray and all of that kind of stuff. So I had 3 or 4 grilled chicken strips on the skewer kind of thing that the caterer did. With a little bit of ranch dressing with that. And then I had some celery and ranch dressing. So pretty low-key meal. I was in and out on the road for much of the day. So trying this intermittent fasting, we're going to see how this goes. I'm in the early stages. Hopefully the next show we'll have a little bit more insight on how it's been working.
Yep, cool. Alberto, you had barbecue, I'm guessing.
Yeah, my own barbecue. Yes, it was just another day of shoving calories down my throat. But I finishing leftovers. So breakfast, and I believe I posted all this as I had made my first pulled pork on the smoker this weekend, which came out phenomenal. So I had a little bit of pulled pork. I was also smoked some Longhorn Wagyu patties. So I had that and a couple eggs for breakfast. I got real busy at work, so I didn't plan on taking lunch. And the shop that I was at just happened to order pizza, so I kind of kept myself busy and let them all eat. And then when they were all done, they're like, "Hey, there's some pizza left," and there was 2 slices of pepperoni pizza left. So I gladly just scraped the toppings off those and just munched on that. And so I was pretty good and hungry by the time I got home. And I know I definitely posted a picture of that, but I cooked what was a 2 pound top sirloin.
Mm-hmm.
So after I cooked it, it got down to 1.5 pound top sirloin, and I ate it all, and it was delicious.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Mouth watering.
Yep. It looked good on the grill too. That
Yeah,
was for
the
sure.
beauty of that grill inside the kitchen there, and I was sounds kind of funny to say I was too lazy to grill it outside. But yeah, that grill, the way it's set up, like that heating element is, I mean, it's about a half inch away from the meat, just the way the setup is. So I crank that thing on 10, and I leave it running for like 20 minutes, and I've actually hit it with a temperature gun just out of curiosity, and the heating element itself will get to like 700 degrees, and the grates will get to like 450 degrees, and so like literally you just slap the steak on there. It sits on one side for about 4.5 minutes. You turn it over, sits on the second side for maybe 4 minutes. You pull that thing off and just let it rest for a little bit, and it comes out to like perfect medium rare every single time. And you get that little sear on the outside, and I was hungry. I couldn't stop eating.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That sounds good. Okay, so let's talk about socials real quick. You can reach us here at the podcast on Instagram at Keto Mans Club Podcast. You can email us any questions, any ideas. If you've got a story that you would like to share at Keto Mans Club Podcast at gmail.com. Our website is theketomansclub.com. So definitely check that out. That takes you to the Facebook group. So if you're not a member, that's a really easy way to find us and be able to get added to the group. We'd love to have you. And so that's how to contact the show. Me personally, I am on Instagram as Duckman Keto. I also have a page on Facebook with the same thing. I stick to most of my keto posts there. My personal page, if you care to follow me and my pictures of like dogs and things like that, is Duckman1221. And Alberto, how about you?
I mean, honestly, I spend most of my time on the Keto Mans Club. Imagine that.
Yes.
And yeah, it's kind of funny. I do feel like I spend way too much time on there, but at the same time, I justify it as like I really don't watch TV like at all. So there's screen time here and there's screen time there. But I got like, you know what? I don't watch a lot of TV. I spend way too much time on Facebook. In the end, I'm no better or worse off than anyone else.
Yep.
So on Instagram, I am Capital Painter, capital with an A. And that's just the occasional workout video and mostly car related shenanigans, painting car stuff. Random photos of cars that I find interesting. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, the easiest place to get a hold of me, and which many people do, by all means, don't hesitate. Message me directly. Hit me a message. Find me on the Keto Mans Club. Alberto, Elberto, which is not my real name, but that's what I go by.
The Berto. There's going to be only one. Okay, Jim, how about you?
Find me on Facebook in the Keto Mans Club, one of the admin moderators, just like you two gentlemen as well. So you can hit me up there. You can also find me on Instagram, Jim Inman Jr. You will see a lot of dog photos on there of my 3 labs, and who knows what else, what other shenanigans you might find. But between those two, track me down. And just as always, very grateful for the people who are following the podcast and who have joined the Keto Mans Club on Facebook, and lots more cool stuff to come as the podcast grows.
Absolutely. Last thing is a call out to our listeners. We would love it if you would take the time to rate and give us a quick comment in the reviews on whatever podcast platform that you use, especially the iTunes one, since that's kind of rated, and we really want to get the word out there. We really want to get more people into this circle, get them into the better way of life that we have found and be able to share that with them as best we can. So if you would rate and leave a review, that would mean a ton to us.
All right.
Well, guys,
one last parting shot. One last parting shot.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm interrupting. I'm keeping this thing going because I'm greedy. Like I say, you guys all know me on the Facebook group. Yes, I am who I am. I work out a lot. It's what I do. It's in my DNA, so to speak. Like that's never going to change. But if there's one thing that I've learned, and I really want you guys to take this to heart from this Facebook group and just watching all these guys who just fearlessly put their pictures up there of any weight they lost, any victory they have. There's one thing I've learned this page has taught me is that work ethic has no specific physique. There's guys out there working their asses off every single day, fighting for every little health victory. And they might not look like it, but I notice, I appreciate it. And yeah, you'll get there and just keep rocking. There's no physique for work ethic. You guys work harder than I do, probably.
Absolutely. That's solely, it maybe it looks different probably, but it still work all the same. And that's what we're doing. We're working for change. We're working to be the best that we can be, which is, of course, what this podcast is all about. Well, guys, it's been an excellent conversation once again. We will speak again soon, I'm sure. And until then, ladies who might be listening and gentlemen, have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us for the Keto Mans Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Mans Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Mans Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Mans Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.